Hey everyone, it's Chris here. Today we're going to be playing Dagon. It's supposedly a bit of a scary game. Never played it before, never played anything like this, so let's get into it. Gonna be a quick video today, maybe 15 minutes, doing 15-minute parts, simply because my camera can't last that long. Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work. Focused on story and atmosphere, you will not find difficult choices. Action sequences or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot. Alright.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
What does that mean? In the game you encounter interactive elements, some of them will allow you to continue your journey, others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background and the author. What the fuck does that mean? No, okay, well let's look. Question. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the elder sign. They just look like trash there to me. Can move.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
Bit excessive, right?
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Yeah, it does look quite good, like graphics wise. If you keep getting to click. Morphine entered use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War and World War I. It was also sold without restrictions until 1914. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe. Around 1854, Frederick Saturna, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium, after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. Who cares about trivia? Or maybe we should. Can we go back? Too late now. If you want to know
One of the most open and
what's
least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
So we're doing memories. Still can't move. It's not a moving game. Must just be story driven.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not
Even if I could
completely
just walk
sunk
around
to
a
their
little
later
bit,
degradation,
that would make a big difference, I think.
so that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Can I move now? No, still can't move. Special symbol. Is that a Nazi? Can move with the arrows.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Can I feel like I should be doing that speaking. Voiceovers. I'll do the reading. We'll go back, we'll have the trivia. Alright, resume. So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape, alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time. If you do watch this and you think that he's better than me, let me know, because then I won't fucking do it again. When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings. Your surroundings is the fucking ocean, man. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude I knew nothing. No island or coastline was in sight. Drifted aimlessly through the ocean. Does that mean go that way? Can I look at this? Go. Go, son. Row. The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land. You turn that sack into a shade, sir. There's another sack there. You don't have to burn in the fucking sun, mate. Do I even have oars? I got one oar. Piss poor planning, mate. Now what? Oh, good. Next. Have some water. But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened while I slept. Its details I shall never know. For my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous. Fucking squids. When at last I awakened, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished. I mean, fuck, I would be too, mate. If you're sleeping and you wake up to this. For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. Did I stand up, or was I just lifted? Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. That one's upside down. Don't know what those bits are. There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost blackish in its cloudiness cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet. Can I go there? Let's go, son. As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions which for innumerable millions of years had laid hidden under unfathomable watery depths. Oh. This is kind of like remembering trying to read in preschool in front of everyone, and you just get the worst kind of words possible. Unfathomable watery depths. So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, strain my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things. What the fuck was that? Another squid thingy. It's on the boat, bro. Let's have a look at this fish. For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens. As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for travelling purposes in a short time. That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search for the vanished sea and possible rescue. Make up that bag. On the third morning I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. Whatever the fuck that thing is. The odour of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind to so slight an evil and set out boldly for an unknown goal. Go that way. All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock, which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert. Well, let's get there, son. I wonder how they made that noise. It's a whale. Keep going, just keep going, just keep going. That night I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it. Espied it? Just keep walking, bro. By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. That's how it works. An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. I just had to make sure that was recorded. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. On fucking gooey goo. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. Which, I mean, fuck me, mate. You wake up to slime and darkness and whatever the fuck kind of hell this is. I mean, you're not going to sleep good at night. And in the glow of the moon, I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence. I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illuminate. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of paradise lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined. Jump! Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent. This would probably be pretty fucking scary as like a VR game. Just saying. whilst after a drop of a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual. We're going down. Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyse, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath. That looks like a building. Gazing to the Stygian deeps where no light had yet penetrated. All at once my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon. That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour positions were not altogether the work of nature. A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express. For despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of scientists' or archaeologists' delight, I examined my surroundings more closely. Is that this rock? Don't know what that is. Some stars. It's a pretty moon. I don't see any constellations that look like real ones. Could be a mistake. Oh, going in. I'll go two more, and I think we'll call it. The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm. And revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed to the base of the cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures. The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books. They're just pictures of sea animals. Crocodile, shark, jellyfish, shell, turtle, turtle, shark, crab. Consisting for the most part of the conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world. That's an octopus. Can't even see what that is. It's a weird looking octopus. But whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings, At the Mountains of Madness, The Nameless City, journals and characters' notes, The Shadow Out of Time, The Haunter of the Dark, Islands Emerging from the Ocean, The Call of Cthulhu, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies, Margot and the Whispers in the Darkness. It also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos, Some of the Lovecraft's other stories also conclude in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's get the details in order not to spoil the ending. Well, I'll call it there for this part. I'll do another part maybe tomorrow or the next day. We'll just see, because I mean, it is pretty interesting. I've never read any of the books, but that's also something that I've been interested in. Like I started reading I can't remember the name now, but it's The Green Knight, Sir Geralt and the Green Knight, and it's the English translation done by J.R.R. Tolkien and his sons after he died. And it's kind of an interesting, it's really hard to read. It's almost like this with the hither, thither, and to the whither sort of readings, but the story is pretty good. So if this is anything like those where it's got a real good story, I'll probably end up reading the books as well. But as far as the video goes, that's it for today. Obviously like, comment, subscribe to the video and the channel. If you want to see more, let me know what you think of the voiceovers. If you think it's not too much, if you think it's too much or not enough, let me know. I just use a shotgun mic, so I don't even know how well that works, but I'll try and make it all sound nice in DaVinci Resolve. I'm still learning that as well, so any feedback, chuck it down the bottom. And just want to say thanks so much for coming. I'll see you later. Bye bye.